welcome to our lovely future humans. We're going to have a bit of an IHP show. I'm thinking about our stories because I was planning on talking about how to be emotionally intelligent, but instead I said let's first talk from how was it being a teenager with the emotional intelligence stuff and then moving into an adult, but also because it's priceless to be attachment trauma educated, really. And so I'm thinking of a number of stories from teen to adult. And if you're new, if you don't know emotionally intelligent, the people that are in the sphere of it, they have mental, emotion, physical mastery, which also means they self-regulate. So as Richard Schwartz would point out, securely attached people are more self-led. They have access to all their emotional charges, or I might have added this, but or changed some of the words, but definitely he talks about how securely attached we're self-led. Soul's calling, so we have access to the emotional stuff, the soul, the essence of our being. That's because you have access to your sense of self, and because you're not in any kind of unawareness of what those basic emotions are. Okay, so you own those emotional charges, which is why you don't project them. And so from a teenager perspective, here's where with that teenage boyfriend, when I'm having the argument that you all know, if you're a regular, you'll know my regular stories. But when we're arguing about this, you only believe in God, he says, because you're afraid of death. And I'm like, no, I'm not afraid. I just don't want to die. Two different things. But I was also like, I feel it in my bones. This is what I believe. You don't have to believe it. But when people are in their effective realism, which is what he was in, strong emotions make you think that what you're thinking is true, when you're also a person, so not you, but people who are immature, whether they're teens or grown-ups, this is the difference. You will know when you have one, like the teenage boyfriend who's doing this effective realism thing, because my personal subjective emotions are not going to make me think that Maria is the right one. I have emotions, I have thoughts, and so by being self-reflective, aware, accountable, and regulating, you're a securely attached, self-led teen, okay? So that's why it's priceless, because what I can tell you is by the time I'm 14, I'm like, yeah, I ain't hanging out with all you backstabbing liar assholes. Those would be all the insecure ones who, as a grown woman, what I can say, they're still the same, but the difference is I was a teenager only once. So I'm a 45.0 version, which is why it's completely priceless to let you know of all these funny stories, because when I look to the past, these are not dramatic stories. Now when you tell your stories to the people who don't hear your timbre, that's why we talked about that. When someone's interpreting my scars, they're not scars. My stories, as if this is tragedy, I know who they are, which is one of the reasons why you disengage from telling people. I can explain to you why I can cry and not call it laundry, like this Zen master who instead he has tears and calls it laundry. Okay, so emotionally intelligent people, they will grow more of that, which is called curiosity. As for courage and strength, we really don't think crying or being angry or being sad or being any of it is like courageous or strong. A little girl is courageous or strong, as she's still in my mind's eye. This is right now a little girl that I got to see because someone shared with me a video and I get to see as a man's trying to offer her juice. And she completely is crying, and there's a reason for it. And so while some will say, see, so evil does exist in the world, Maria, I say, yeah, with Michael Stone and the forensic criminologist scale and the people who are basically a bunch of people who I'm not going to be doing anything about, because as those who are mystics know and spiritual ones, there's always free will as a choice. Some people don't believe there to be free will, like Determined, Robert Sapolsky's book, but is it quantitatively proven? No, it's just mostly, I think, qualitative, although I have to read it still, so I'm not 100% sure. Discerning, equanimous, loving brains are the emotionally, mentally, physically, intellectually mastered people who don't fall for bullshit, and they don't fall for what they like or don't like. It's what works, and what works is that science consistently is actually quite on point when it comes to some things. They don't know all things, and so, for example, I saw there was someone who was saying how doctors disagree with like an item that you can eat. And I'm like, yep, we already know that. There's not a one-stop shop fits everything. And that's why I did the 5D Mystics Skeptic Nutritionist Diary, to prove to those who are regulars that, well, it's not to prove, it was really to have fun with it and to get you all to support me as I was completely being a pain in the ass to myself. That's what caught my attention, was why are you making such a big deal out of somebody telling you to eat healthy? So you'll know the timbre of ego when it's in town, because it actually sounds quite hilarious as it complains about something that is healthy. So we choose convenience over everything, as some people say, but what really is, your brain is a smart thing. And so it will consistently do this where, let me think how to explain it. Okay, I have panic attacks. You all know that. I'm doing better with that. Like, I'm doing better with the IBS thanks to the diary, the nutritionist stuff. But the panic attacks, I already had gotten better with all that. And actually, I'm going to wait to see how the food continues to do, because that's where one of the things that any of us will do when you're an online marketer or an online content creator or an entrepreneur is you're going to consistently work and you're being busy with the things you love to do. And so what do you forget to do? I don't forget to eat because I didn't get hungry, but my body can survive on one meal a day because that's how it can work. So, that's why the science and spirituality coming together. While someone will say, listen to your gut, no, your gut isn't always right. But don't disregard it either, right? So that's where the 50-50 comes into the mix. Okay, so emotionally intelligent people will be smart enough to know that with your own subjective experience comes that which is your own subjective sensations, images, affects, behaviors, and meanings. That's CBAM. And those are the acronyms from Dr. Peter Levine. So with that, you're able to consistently work with the images that come up, the sensations that come up, the affects. You don't actually use them and project. You know the meanings and you know what behaviors can come up. When you're functioning a child adult, this is where, as a teenager with teenage boyfriend, I'm going to bring him into the mix. As we're having our argument, I'm like, dude, no, I don't believe in God because I'm afraid of death. It's because I feel it in my bones. And that was the only person I argued with, because in my brain, as we're having this debate, it's not a debate. He is committed and convinced. It's called effective realism. So when you're not dumb, I'm going to bring it to you, because you can see clearly when you're feeling deeply, you know how to use a prefrontal. When on the other hand, I got a dumb, to me, it's a dumb person. I want it to be real, it's about what it is right, it feels right. Wow, you're a grown human being who just told me how you feel. When someone says, it's dangerous to have an emotion, no emotions, really, where? You really didn't get the download on what your first 3 years of life are. I'm so not sorry, because you actually, even if you got it, you think you know shit. So when ego likes to make sense of what it doesn't actually understand, that's why I'm like, come again, Cusco? Did you just say words that sure, Cusco, because I'm a Pacha, I'm not a Cusco. Okay, so when you meet fake people, that's why my facade friend is the only man I ever yelled at in his face. All I asked her is be yourself. And then attachment trauma educators made me a better person, because now I know what I'm going to do with my gloves. Handle them with care. So teenage Maria is telling teenage boyfriend, I'm not insecure, I'm not afraid, and he just argues with me. In the meantime, I know why he doesn't believe in God, because his friend killed himself, because his girlfriend had cheated on him, then he gets to go cheating on his girlfriend. I get to move into the lovely open relationship polyamory community. When you are a lover, you're always a lover. Please, if you are a person who's unclear, amore, love means that I will not have these expectations of you being me. I'm not you, you're not me. That's it. So emotionally intelligent people don't do the codependent dance. That's where Terry Real and Patrick Chan help people who are codependent. And more than just that, I'm here personal spiritual growth. So it's once you are ready for that, which is called intentional living. And that's why with people in general, as Aristotle would point out, friends are like a second self. You'll feel their pain. And as any mystic and spiritual one and any mental health professional and smart one of today will tell you, it's not emotions are contagious. It's that we're all embodied brains. So in the minute I'm in a room with a bunch of people, I got what is a biosphere. And it can be a me, or it can be, as Terry Real would point out, it doesn't matter. But I have the capacity to self-regulate, though, thanks to me being securely attached and non-traumatized. So as Pat Ogden would point out, self-regulation independently of others is what a securely attached, non-traumatized person is. That's where our 5D collective is. Because when I learned a 5D collective, that's the minute of, wow, they're all Christ consciousness, so they all know how to forgive. Today, I know a lot of people use the words, and then they have a lot of different stories, but what I'm going to say is when they walk into a room, and anyone who's a ventral energy, anchored in the positive, restorative, embodied resiliency. Okay, so when you can feel deeply, because you're an open-ended thinker and feeler, you don't grow stronger or courageous. By the time you become a mature 20-year-old, you just think, okay, so I met cowards. Now I know there's no Lucifer, and then you continue to do so. And then as you move through twin flames, you say, okay, and now I know, again, same thing goes. Thanks, lovely God. So listen, there's still no monsters, because not only by the time I got through twin flame 3, I'm completely mesmerized by all the oversoul stuff, everything. I'm completely aware of all the masculine bullshit. They're not empowered. Once they're empowered, that's a whole different story. And so with that being said, what you are going to end up remembering is that God is perfect, source, Akash, Anima Mundi, everything. And if you've been brought to the forefront of someone else, it is because you're gifted, as Sadhguru points out, the ability to say, yeah, love, I love. You accept, respect, and love people. Everyone does the best they can. The ones who want them to do better, that's not on me to tell you. And that's why being yourself the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. So you consistently learn, once you are emotionally intelligent, how to be the emotionally mature person that you want to be, if you want to be. If you don't, it doesn't matter. So that's why Cusco gets to continue being Cusco. That's our 3D40 brothers and sisters. Pacha gets to continue being Pacha. And as I was telling you in some of those shorts, a true warrior is going to be a warrior of heart, not a warrior of gut. Our ancient ancestors, they're long behind us, because while we have still a bountiful of them, as Thomas Campbell, this lovely physicist, points out, the truth is not fragile, and love and sharing and this entropy, however it is he poses it, is what consistently builds more. We all know that, because even Robert Sapolsky with his book Determined and a bunch of different things he studied, anything that is selfish in a way of being like this, it's protective. It's a small frequency, it's a small brain, it's only using half of it, because they don't know how to notice neutrality, because they think there's a knife behind someone's back the minute that someone's neutral. And kindness, it's called someone's testing someone. It's a 0-8-year-old who doesn't know actively how to be emotionally aware of their surroundings with mental and physical sense of safety. So while they think their survival mode is great, it's not, because you're in social time now and you're not in the forest with the bear. Meantime, your survival stuff is going to have you doing bad resilience. You're also going to be thinking that my neutrality means I'm lying to you, which, by the way, I love it when I can tell you all about twin flames, all about the soulmates, all of it. And the point of confusion, none. There is none to be found, because I don't have limerence, because nobody's testing anyone when you're in a relationship with people. And so when you meet the ones who are all taken by their twin flames, yeah, it's not the twin flame thing. It's because they actively have no ownership of the 0-1-year-old. So they're not securely attached. They're not non-traumatized. They're not emotionally aware that love is, it's free. You don't have to do anything for it. You do you and I do me. That's it. Like teenage boyfriend. So nothing changes after that argument. We stayed together for a whole 4 years. His cheating didn't mean he didn't love me. It is something that I said that's normal. We're teenagers. Like, duh. Things happen in life. Like, why are you talking about? So when I make fun of people or talk about my stories and people are like, oh, they were bad. They're not bad. They're just being human. And so when someone wants to still use the word bad like they're a child, I just think, sure, okay, keep talking. I don't do the good or bad thing, because I've grown up to know that self-acceptance means that I can be seen as a crooked bitch, witch, and a bunch more. And believe me, I meet a bunch of grown-ups that I can tell you. So here's one story. This one is actually, where was it? A friend of mine, they had the shit go down. This is a person who has like, look, the 2, if not 3 times, I'm like, this is not sounding like something trustworthy. I'm pretty sure there's a scam in the midst of all this. Like, there's no human being. There's a scam. You really need to, what are you doing? And so long story short, though, I got to have a bet. And I got a bet where you've heard me talk about this bet. And it was where he's like, you're just a woman, so women tend to be sex objects for men, something like that. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I bet you $1 that is the case. You bet me $1. I bet you $1 that I win. And a year later, though, I get to make a phone call and be like, hey, so listen, I wasn't going to call you because really it was a crappy conversation. And this is not word for word. I'm changing it up every time just because I prefer that way. But because, I know that sometimes I'm poor and don't pay my debts. But in this case, I can give you the dollar that I owe you. But I also want to tell you that I'm so happy that I wasn't near you because at that point, pretty sure that I wouldn't have called you had I not lost the bet. But, I'd rather fess up. Here, I owe you money. And do you think that the individual act question took full-blown awareness of what they actually physically had done? So when you use the word friend, I'm going to ask, that's what friends are for, good time, bad time. Okay, so here's why those who are not emotionally intelligent will call people like that half safe. They're not half safe to a person who's like, I didn't expect safety from a human being who's, by the way, betting me in a moment of they're upset that I'm a sex object. They're obviously upset. I'm not going to hold it against them because I know that they do care for me, which is why emotionally immature people, how do you handle them? You don't. You just learn that their on and off switch is what they lead with. So in this case, you don't get any kind of, I didn't want an apology either, by the way, because that wasn't why I was calling. I actually was calling and say, I'm going to tell you you're an asshole. I wasn't going to call you because at this point you hate women. Also, though, I did want to let you know you won, so that's at least for me, because I don't want to actually hold that back because it's a friend. So I like to be honest with my friends. You know what I mean? And then when people say that's not your friend, no, it is my friend. How? What? You've never made a mistake before? You've never gotten pissy in your pants and done some shit that made it seem like you're an asshole? I know I can have done it. You have to be saluted. This is a stranger to me. Apparently, he thinks it's about decency. So when emotionally weak people are, you know what? There's one guy. This guy makes me laugh in my butthole all the time because he thinks there's no emotionally elite people. And he actually spoke these words. So what makes me laugh is that, okay, so I don't know what it's like to suffer and have shame in the way that some people will have talked to me. I don't know, in fact, how it is to have monsters in my head at all. I have no fucking idea how it is to treat my body in any way, shape, or form like a piece of shit. Nor would it be that I would be in any kind of relationship where I'm actually being treated in certain ways. In fact, I only got taught this very small 1 year. I remember what I was getting taught. Okay, so when you have the emotional intelligence thing since you're a kid, you're like, you don't get a green pass or a red pass. Why'd you lie to me again? BFFF of all times? I don't understand. Like, I forgave him twice. And I asked all the people who lied to me, who didn't tell me shit the second time. But what about you? What? Afraid. So by the time I'm 20, I just know people are afraid to speak the truth. Now, attachment trauma educated doesn't make it any more amazing. And as a grown-up, actually, what I can tell you is, so luckily for the 5D collective, we're all here doing Dharma. And that's where I'm going to leave it at. But I don't actually have words to say when you think you're going to win a bet. But I do have something to say about a CIA ex-agent and anybody who is telling on screen that they think they know strategy in a way of like accuracy. So you don't know this, but I'm a political science major, bachelor's, and I have a master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. I learned all about negotiation, rhetoric, and all this stuff. I took my years very seriously. In fact, when I learned about negotiation in one of my courses in my international relations and diplomacy master, I learned something. And I learned that they were wrong, and my gut was more right than what they had taught me in these books. So whenever I'm seeing somebody on YouTube, whether it's an ex-CIA agent, police, no matter what it is, I see a bunch of scholars, academics, doesn't matter. I will wait, I will hear, and then I will say, okay, that's a possibility. However, I'm pretty sure the smart ones, them, aren't the ones that are going to be chit-chatting their mouth away. So while the ones who continue to think of conspiracies and whatnot, they, again, are all over this shit. What you're going to be, if you are in any way, shape, or form emotionally intelligent, with the mental intelligence and the capacity to know, this is why I need to always share with you. So when you align with God, Source, Akash Anima Mundi, if you're spiritual, if you're of science people have explanations for you. And what I can tell you is the ones who know about integration of the brain and they know about neuroscience, neurobiology, they all know who the winner of our packs are. And it's called people who use two sides of their brain because they're using the bright sides of neuroplasticity. And so they are growing stronger because they are courageous. No, because they're curious and they're using eustress. They won't be talking about their crying as laundry. They also won't be talking about humanity as pieces of shit or science as bullshit. They will actually be very smart and very much having a good time. When you meet the ones who think they're smart, those we actually make fun of behind the scenes. I just make fun of them here. Because the minute I'm meeting a pseudo intellectual, I'm going to be like, aha. So you actively are bringing to me something that you think you've proven, yet you have qualitative data analysis for me, not quantitative data. Had you had anything revolutionary like a quantitative bit, I'd be aware of it, which is why I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, and then I'm going to know that as in time you build, so who builds a legacy for our human species are always going to be those who leave something behind that is for the future. Like when Sadhguru gets asked who out of the sciences community left something behind for us to continue expanding. He talked about Darwin. So you'll already be aware, if you're emotionally intelligent, of those who have us expanding. And it's always going to be with science, because spiritual ones, we all come with God as we're aligned. So you apply the spiritual essence of love. Means your humility will seep through every one of your little bones and inches, and that's why you don't do effective realism. Also, it's not a competition. We don't prove spirituality. There's no need for it. Scientists get to continue proving their stuff, and that's why I look forward to letting you know. I told God already, hey, spiritual ones aren't needed. Sciences prove how to get the kingdom of God active, the seed of enlightenment, all of it. It's called healthy self-worth people with restored embodiment. It's pretty clear. That's it. That's a snap and done. No, it's not snap and done, because we all choose convenience. We all choose what we already know. So it's basically called when you're self-aware, accountable, regulating, and reflective, and you continue to choose that when you're crying or mad or you're afraid, panic attacks gave me plenty of practice, surprised, happy, disgusted, that you get to continue being self-led with emotional stuff, not the charges. So that's why it's called to be processed through the open heart and the open gut and the open mind. Yes, I do love the cross. I really wish that it would have some better people behind it, not the ones who say yoga brings demons out of you and Reiki is bad energy, or that spiritual people are supposed to be divisive. The ones who want to, continue to hold against our ancestors their mistakes. I mean, we all make mistakes. That you want to, what is it called? Get bystanders. That's where the fourth step to healing trauma charges. Studies show that people want bystanders to take their side, and then they want with the bystanders to go punish them, because that's called the vendetta that they want. And that's where, when moved by rage, people don't understand that's not God's words. In fact, it's actually people who are adaptive child part who have a vendetta, who are looking to get justice for something that they have a charge, which makes their 14-month-old rule them, so their emotions are managing them. Basically, like when you hear someone say, I want it to be a world where it's about what is right, not what feels right, you think, yes, you just told me that you're a cynic and that you don't understand how you work, which means that you don't know how to work with your emotional plane, because otherwise you'd have been like, look. So while enlightenment is professed to be true by some, I don't experience it. There's a Zen master who also doesn't have enlightenment. The enlightenment soul age group, that's what I'm in. Once I moved in it, I knew it. In fact, Sadhguru gets asked this question by a guy, how do you know when you're there? You'll just know. I was like, yep, you'll know. Science, technical verbiage, restored, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person, right here. Emotionally intelligent people. So we're not buffooned by those who are actually not interesting. Eventually. And that's why, as I matured, I got to know all about fantasy stages, all about those who are emotionally unavailable, all about the emotionally immature ones. And then why do I love all my friends the same? Because I didn't say I'm your friend by saying, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. And I don't do that. That sounds like you're... Yeah, so sometimes I tease about conditions, but there's no conditions. You unconditionally love people for who they are, and then when you have friends that actually don't take ownership about the shit they bring your way, that's just the Cusco. Cusco lies to Pacha at the end of the movie, so shame is pretty clear. It's always the same. They don't know how to have honest conversations, because emotionally charged people aren't actually emotional yet. They have vendettas. And that's where their non-metabolized trauma charges come up, and they project it, and then they just keep throwing it. And that's pretty much it. So you learn the on and off switch, but that's why they're not half safe. They're just people who don't know what they are bringing to the table. But unlike this other dude, this guy, he made me laugh when he did this whole speech and presentation. I could have become like him, actually. So here's where I get irritated, just like anybody else, by people who are two-faced, but those people will think of those of us who believe in all things as two-faced. Like my facade friend, he called me a hypocrite because I'll talk about this and that as true, which is true. So you are always going to learn about something if you're emotionally intelligent, because you're mentally intelligent to know how not to take anything personally, and that's why you're a physical master of your 14-month-old, excuse me, right here. What does Maria like? I like intellectually, emotionally, physically intelligent, stimulating individuals, whether they're mystics or spiritual. And then I have fun with all people because spirituality. No, I bring them together on my podcast. I'm a mystic, Akashic record reader. I'm a Reiki master. Yeah, I'm one too. Okay, yes, but I still bring them together. I help people be their self, give them the keys to inner growth, showing who they are, having a good time with people who are morons. We get to have fun stories. No, I didn't tell him all this. And he shows me his tattoos. Here, I'm going to show you mine. But he shows, nope, here's Buddha. Oh, here's quantum physics. So now I got show and tell. And I'm actually really fun. I'm curious. I'm not like, oh my God, how dare he? I don't get offended when people are interrupting me. I actually have a good time. They tell me I can't love all equally. Apparently, I'm supposed to be a masochist because that's what the polyamory community is. Apparently, also because I'm a woman, so a lot of people bring in their stuff. And I will never forget, there's this other person. So I can fuck you? No. I can marry you? No. Okay, so what? You can't do anything. You're my friend. You're not in my polyfidelity vessel. Are you done? And at the time, I didn't have the polyfidelity vessel. But when I talked to my friend about it, I remember him trying to chime in. I'm like, okay, look, you got a monoamory relationship going on. How about you leave me alone? Go take care of yourself. Don't worry. I'm not looking for your advice. He was trying to actually tell me how to allow myself to be treated. I'm like, I don't need you to tell me how to allow myself to be treated. I have pretty good conversations with people. So it was hilarious. This is a friend of mine. He moved away, so I can't actually tease him, and he can't tease me. And this is one of the reasons why I'm really missing him, because I want to know how he's doing, even though I think he's doing great with his lovely partner and his child. So this is a good story. It's a fun story to see love win. And that's where I've seen it in another time. I'll never forget when I got to sit down with these two human beings and they got to tell me that they were moving in together. I almost cried. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So you do know when people are finally meeting their match, the person that they're supposed to be with. And that's why it's really fun. Love is all things. Love never judges. Love never obstructs free will. And God definitely knows how to make every single one of our brothers and sisters. However, let's move back into when we have the ones who don't move all the way to the emotionally mature version of themselves. So, number one, they will use the dark sides and plasticity. That's a sad story. They will not talk to 5D mystics. They will talk to us because that's where it can be, where you're friends. So with all my facade friend people, the funny stories I tell you, we still all talk. And then you get to realize why there's such a disconnect, which is where the only first time it took place, I was like, what is happening? I was really like, oh my God. And then once I was able to settle into all the attachment trauma education, I was like, okay, this is good. Now I know how to work with myself when I'm around these individuals that are from my oversoul. Okay, I'm prepared to have Maria's new stare. The one where she thinks of Peter Levine with the little bird and the broken wing and the cat, and then Dr. Daniel Fox, as he informs me of, they test, don't believe neutrality, so remember that anytime you're being played, quote unquote, it's not being played. They're living out their non-metabolized trauma time, as Pat Ogden points out. So I got a 0-8-year-old in a room and show and tell. I say, look, so how about this? I was having a very important conversation with my friend over here, which was really important. And you chimed in with I'm not confusing it, but, for just purposes of, I've learned that typically people end up in the same place. Can you tell me what your thoughts are? And that way I can get back to my conversation. And maybe if you want, I'll share books with you of like the sciences people. Yes, totally. That's exactly where we're headed. Thank you so much. I will see you later, alligator. And that's where it was ended. And then the person, I actually got to see them again in the future. And, well, let's just leave that one alone. But the neuroplastic agent, so either the bright sides or you don't use the bright sides. And if you don't use the bright sides, that's why shame, blame, fault, revenge, and people like this all night long. Yeah, so when they're in survival mode, they're actually battling that, which is something I don't know about. But I have been told by those who do EMDR, child parts work, somatics, that once they're over the hump, and it did, so some people choose not to continue working on their physical mastery with their emotional and mental mastery. That's why they think wellness is a scribbly line. And that's why we say, yes, we are all pretending to not suffer life. We are, I know, right? We are all, that's how you work. I'm not joking. This is how you work it. You're smiling because you're pretending, Maria. You just froze with anger. Yes, I'm pretending right now. I'm going to hang out with my other, I don't, and people actually, they do make fun of me. And I love to say, look, I can explain it to you if you want. But usually the ones who are actually making it into a big deal are the ones that I just think, if I really thought what I thought, if I really told you what I thought when I was a kid, not when I'm a grown up, now that I'm all attachment trauma educated. So when I was a kid, I was like, wow, they really don't know that some of us can just be happy in life. Should I tell them they want me to suffer? Do you know what happens when somebody actually accuses you of that? Oh, I've been accused of it. I'll never forget. As I'm getting accused of it, I'm like, you're saying that you think I want you to suffer because I'm telling you as a mystic that I have dreams, and it's not dreams, that it's intuition, and that it's a lot more. Are you serious? Like, you're serious. How are we friends? Obviously you don't trust me. I'm so sorry that you think that. And it was really sad. And then I got to, by the way, splinters, we repair them, and ruptures. Emotionally intelligent ones. So I don't have anybody that I'm not friends with. Do all people like me? I don't know, but I know that some don't. And when that happens, I just think, well, I mean, I'm sorry. Can't be perfect. I'm not. And when someone says, why do you apologize to someone when you're not wrong? Because I know how to be an emotionally grown up about it, and I do know subjective reality, and I don't like to be going home with a person that might die tonight, and I love them for real, because I'm okay with us having what is called an interaction. So this is a thing that happened, and I told somebody about it, and they're like, why would you apologize? And I'm like, because they're my loved one, and I don't want them to go home and think I don't love them, and I don't care about right or wrong. I care that they know I love them. And that's actually why the perfectionist Enneagram, they have all these outlines, which I find completely not accurate. When you take the PDP framework with Dr. Danny Siegel, way more accurate, while the Enneagram, not as much, because it gives you all these stories that aren't applicable to you as a subjective human being who lives with sensations, images, affects, behaviors, meanings. PDP framework works with your nervous system, which is why it's totally accurate. When I did the test, I'm like, yep, that's me. I'm still finishing up the book. Dr. Daniel Siegel, he has IPNB framework and PDP framework. To this day, I work like this PDP framework talks about. While the perfectionist thing, they say we have an issue with anger, I don't. I actively can get in people's faces, which is why I was thankful that God kept me far away from one specific human being, because I would have completely said a bunch of things. And here's where regret does come, when you would be considered by your own self a mean person. Why? Because, so while there's one thing that I did say, and I meant it at the time, and so I could regret it if I wanted to, but it wasn't that big of a deal, because it was just one word, and I can't take it back, and that's the part, but it's okay. And that's because, again, if I had anybody say, you have to regret, I'm like, oh, thank goodness, I have one thing I can regret. Oh, shit. Do I have some? Yes, I have one thing I'm ashamed of. So, when people like to give you the serial murder kind of deal, it's like, I have some things. I can make them up. I can make them up as I go along. Just let me go. Let me go. Let me live. So in the meantime, though, in this other situation, I'm being all serious. 45.0 version of Maria knows if I went back in time, and if I did what I decided I was going to do, just when I reached out to my facade friend. He said, no, Maria, I can't be there. I was like, shit. Okay, well, it's fine. I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. And then actually I didn't have to figure it out. Yeah, it's a good thing I didn't have to figure it out. Because, yes, it's not nice to tell people every single thing that you think in every single bit of the words without any emotional charges whatsoever. Because, see, again, when you're self-led, there's not an emotional charge. I'll actually authentically share with you, here's how I felt, here's what I thought, and here's what I am considering completely about that, which is your entire complete character. You lack complete integrity, morality, character, all of it. Here you go. Because seriously, I don't even understand how you can lack all of this. My facade friend is why I don't yell at people in their face. All I ask you is to be yourself. But I hadn't had the attachment trauma education to understand what makes a coward a coward. To this day, I will let you all know I'm not afraid of telling a coward that they're a coward. No, now I'm more of aware, so it's not about fear. It's I won't go shaming someone who already has shame all over the place because they wear it on their face, not on their sleeve. Thanks, Stephen Porges. So, blessed are those who believe without seeing, forgive for they don't know. Thank you, Jesus. And in fact, I love Jesus, man. I didn't say, but if you don't know me at all, I was raised with good Christian Catholic upbringing. I have Holy Spirit, Jesus, God. And the ones who reject me, I don't actually reject them. I feel very much, as a grown woman, I will tell you that I find it bullshit. And unfortunate business that they continue to do that, which is not come all together. But, people like to have their little teams and call each other words. And like the flat earthers, they just hang around each other and continue to just say we're right. And anybody who's like, yeah, okay, whatever, you're right, fine. Grounded in reality, people are emotionally intelligent. And so spirituality and sciences don't contradict each other, only for those who use half a brain, because they can't handle that we just talk about all pieces of information the same. And so when you do understand how stuff works, I left those classes, attachment trauma, crying. But that didn't mean that I left them thinking I'm going to give people green passes or red passes. No, I'm not going to give anyone a pass. I don't cast a stone since I was a kid because I got taught by my good Christian Catholic catechist, you don't cast a stone, Maria. You're a sinner. God will take you, but remember who you talk. So when the ones who say if you don't confess in the churches, yeah, okay, but if I got people in cloaks hurting children, and that's all genders, I'm really not going to in any way, shape, or form think of anything related to God, because that's the minute that you've betrayed everything that you're trying to teach me in any of my classes, because you're actively making up an excuse for why you don't need to go and get those consequences. So here's where the law isn't above anyone. The law exists in countries. So when it comes to countries and laws and all that stuff, so I just don't do well with liars. My mother taught me about manipulative grown-ups, by the way. So as a self-agent, I just know I won't be addressing their manipulation, because why would I? But I can talk to you all about it. Luckily for me, I'm a self-agent who grew up in countries that all allow us to share our thoughts. And what's sad is that when I think of leaders, they're able to diffuse conflict and, yes, provide clarity. You don't deny decentralizing in the South because God doesn't need science. It's proof that the kingdom of God is within everyone, because it's showing how we evolve, expand, and actually not disproving God. It's just explaining how, humanly speaking, we're made. So someone who can create a story and then use their words and manipulate them in front of other grown-ups, these are grown-ups who believe them. I'm a grown-up too. I'm like, okay, well, you are obviously not all grown-ups. Because you didn't hear the explanation. Oh, I'm sorry. You heard it. You believe them and not the scientists. I'm so sorry. You think I want to be around mediocre, ignorant human beings? No. And you think that means you represent faith? Sure you do. Okay, you know what? How about, so subjective reality, here's why the beliefs, okay, that's not what faith is for those of us who are in communion with God. It's timber, ding, ding, akash source. Anyone who's intuitive is going to know the frequency of love. And then we're going to know the frequency of humility. And we're going to continue being chimed in, because that's, if you don't use God, you use source, whatever words you use, it's always going to say, hey, get down, get on that floor right now, and remember that you're all here to mingle and tingle. And so however it is that people will talk to you about it, if they are in communion with that which is, they will not be thinking of themselves as more anointed, more special, better, When you hear the ones that talk to you about being tested by masculines, no, there's no test. Not like that, at least. With energy vampires, dark auras. No, only the ones who don't own their sense of self get confused. I've seen the stare. You told me you're going to therapy. Great. Once you're done, come back around. We'll talk about the sense of self, what I was just telling you. There's no energy vampires, dark auras, or any of that. But first, you need to get yourself integrated, and you need to know how to self-regulate. Otherwise, my words are just going to fall on deaf ears. You're going to keep staring at me like I don't know what I'm saying. I do know what I'm saying, and I can tell that you have not yet experienced the complete sense of self. I have, and I know I don't get lost when I'm having downloads or any of my emotional stuff or none of it. And so when you are, again, mentally, emotionally intelligent, you're physically intelligent. So your 14-month-old don't rule you, and you don't get ruled by your implicit, explicit memory or any of those emotional charges. And so you don't project your past upon others. You can talk about your past. This is the fun part about being a grown-up, which is why we don't need tear reel. And so functional child adults know how to know. So I know when I'm being triggered because, of course, I have stuff that's taken place. But I don't address it in a way of needing to talk about it because I have Maria's entire human history. And so when it comes up, the way you're able to be aware of it is because it's tiresome, because those are the charges. Also, you have images, so there's memories. But you also are in a prefrontal, so you're able to conceptualize what happened yesterday, what happened today, what happened the day before, okay? So then you're able to put all those pieces together, and you're able to say, okay, so I had a number of series of events take place where, in my case with panic attacks, my nervous system doesn't get overwhelmed because I'm used to that, which is a nervous system, but also I've been expanding my window welcome because every time it's happened, you learn how to. It's like a rubber band, so your energy body expands for real. And that's why I don't think of it as courageous or strong to cry or to get angry or to get afraid. I just think the most annoying part of expansion was the panic attacks. But right now, with my good nutritionist diary, I'm like, you know what? I'm thinking it might have been the food. I'm going to have to wait, though, because it's only been, what? It's not even, I'm going to have my month review soon. So I'm going to tell her about all the benefits that I've gained, and that's everything. And then I'm going to see how we can work with some aspects that I'm finding a bit challenging right now. In fact, actually, that'll be an interesting conversation. So, long story short, we'll have, you know what, we're going to have an entry after my meeting. I'm going to go walk around and do some stuff. And so, in the meantime, though, as a teenager, it was really easy for me to tell the teenage boyfriend all the stuff. Then I got older, the twin flame and twin flames. This is what happened. I didn't have attachment trauma education, and so I didn't realize that there's emotionally unavailable people. I just knew that there's some people who seem to be, I don't know, awkward. That's what it feels like. When I met this grown woman who didn't know how to tell me in my face, look, I can't do hugs, please stop. And then I had to find out via her talking about it. And then I'm like, I'm so sorry. And then we finally became friends. That's where I'm not going to stop hugging women or men because the men might confuse it. The women might not tell me. If you don't know how to tell me, not going to change how I am. And in fact, here's where a friend of mine, he made fun of me in a situation where we were in group. And he actually picks every now and then. But what he did was this, because he was with a woman that he knows. And so I didn't hug her. And he's like, oh, so you don't hug everyone, Maria? And I looked at him, I said, well, I used to, but then this happened. You remember this person? You know her. So this what happened. I hugged her, and she didn't know how to say she didn't want to be hugged. So for 3 times, I noticed she was avoiding me, but I didn't say anything because as a grown woman, I'm like, some people might not like me. I didn't know anything, and then came out the truth, which is she doesn't like to be hugged. I was like, so sorry. So because of that, now that I'm consciously aware that some human beings don't know how to speak to me as grown women or men, that they don't want to be hugged. The men, they might swipe kisses like, look, that I was hugging. I didn't mean that I liked you that way. I'm so sorry that I know I don't know what to do with you all. No, I do know. But the point is that when it's a complete stranger, man or woman, I will actually now get all weird because I got a bunch of insecure human beings who don't know how to just spell out things. And then there's the ones who think you're hiding shit behind your back. So when you meet grown men and women who don't know how to be emotionally intelligent, you just learn that everything becomes awkward and, well, you know, it is what it is. But I don't do what this other dude did. I'm going to do it up to be saluted. That's an insecure person who doesn't, it's not about decency. I just never wanted to become his friend. And when you have healthy self-worth, it's because you actually have a ding, 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 ding. My bell knows. My 14-month-old knows who I will be interested in engaging with and who not. I don't pick friends based on some random choice. None of us do. Did you not? I'm so sorry. Your amygdala rules you based on that. It's like instinctive. That's why I already knew that. Did you not? So when your oversoul is the most amazing of oversouls ever, I don't have anyone that I can complain about. They give me fun stories. They let me tell you how I grew to become Maria. Then I get to continue making fun of the ones who aren't even going to be bothered because, you know, canceling, and they think that, you know, a bunch of stuff. So you grow more curious and fun. Oh, God is great. He continues to remind me not to judge, but I'm getting better at that. My brothers and sisters of human suffering, a waste of my fucking time. I'm getting better at that, though, because I'm still mastering as an Akashic record reader and intuitive, that which is sharing with the 5D collective what it is that we're here to do. Be yourself, for real. So the smart way: stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. And that's why we get to be emotionally, mentally, and physically masters of ourselves, not managers. So when my 14-month-old comes up and all my past and all that stuff, I know how to handle it, because I'm not actually handling it with laundry zen master. I know how to hug myself. And then because I do well with emotions, anger, sadness, fear, surprise, happiness, disgust, I'm able to have at least 5 activities that I do with my thinking. And then I also eat well, and I drink well, and I can smoke cigars well. And so there you go. So you get to consistently work with that which is harnessing the best life ever. The highest timeline, the 5D collective. Oh, P.S. I've been noticing there's a bunch of people who like to say to people who don't have children that might be because it's their last lifetime. Nobody can tell you that. There's a bunch of people who I know who have children, and they are spiritually aware that it is their last lifetime, because I have a bunch of different mystic friends. And when they find that out, then they find out other things. And this was really fun, because my soul sister, she shared this with me. She's like, I found out, Maria, that earth babies might be able to come back through other things. I'm like, really? Okay, I want to hear more about that. In fact, I have to call my soul sister, because I'm actually curious about that, because there's earth babies. Since the earth won't last forever, since the sun will go out at some point, we'll get off of earth, don't worry. But I had a question a long time ago when I did an Akashic record reading and more. And I said, so listen, I'm just curious, my future husband. I was like, so I'm trying to understand, why is that the future? So I asked a question, I got answers. And then my soul sister told me about this thing. I was like, okay, because I had in that moment gotten the download, well, earth babies finish with earth, they came with earth, they leave with earth. So now what I know about manifestation and emotionally healthy, spirituality speaking people is they could decide based on this information, because you know how you create intents before you die? Anybody know about that? So usually they'll tell you that you have some stuck places. You don't have stuck places. You have places you can become expanded on. I've met only one human being in my lifetime so far as a 45-year-old version of myself with Reiki as a master, Reiki master, that was stuck, like an actual, I was like, okay, this is basically like mud. It's going to take me, I don't know how many days to maybe, oh wait, you're doing what? Okay, so never mind. I'm going to leave it alone. Pretty sure what you are using is something that is actually doing something else. So right now, what I'm going to say, great, you're on a roll with your good therapist and the medication. That's the only time I ever met a third eye that was actually blocked. Other than that, I've met people who use their chakras the way that so that's another story. So long story short, my soul sister told me that the earth babies could come back if they wanted to, so I'm thinking they can share their intents if they decide they want to keep living. What's fun is that we care about living the life of now, 5D collective of mystics and spiritual ones. We don't think of it's easier to be dead, because our bodies are very light. That's why you're aligned with God, source, Akash Anima Mundi, right? You're applying the spiritual essence of love, the oxytocin gene hormone. You're securely attached to your 1-year-old. That's why it's not about children or not children. You're activated in God's will with Mother Earth's 5th dimension. So, the 5D collective, welcome aboard. Mystic spiritual. The mindful means you're securely attached, not traumatized. And so you're emotionally intelligent, curious, and you like to do work with emotions. And personal spiritual growth. So personality patterns is what we're continuing to expand. So you grow more fun, which is why some people think we're dumb. If that's okay, they can think of us as dumb. We have a good time, because at the end of the day, if you have been put through unpleasant situations in life, you should be sensible enough not to put anyone else in such situations. Thank you, Sadhguru. And as God sends us to each other to love each other, that's why we're always all little angels. And so we're choice points, and that's why the crone, the maiden, and the empowered feminine is what I'm talking to you about. And they also have their own empowered masculine. So that's a person that gets to be their true self, because their beginner's mind knows that the future has not been created yet. And the bold step is that we move forward, and that which is something called We're not in the desert, we're the bridge, and the temples, well, the ones who know that God doesn't pick favorites know that science shows exactly what a person who needs help is. So when somebody still needs a good and bad team, those are adaptive child part who like and don't like. And so they're all hypocrites to a person who's emotionally intelligent because they're casting a stone. While I did that when I was a kid, you're bad, you're good, you're bad. I don't do that like a grown-up. And when you meet academics, the real kind, they're of all types of schools of thought that they'll come together and have debates. Those are interesting. When I meet gossipers, I'm not actually like, wow. I like debates of intellectuals because they actually present their qualitative analysis, like determined Robert Sapolsky, in a very specific way. But because they're debating amongst each others, I get to be an observer, which is the most fun part of it all, because again, I'm a 3-year-old right here, so they're going to think I'm dumb, which is okay, because I'm like, yeah, I am dumb when it comes to all this. I'm just looking to hear what you're saying because I'm curious. Once they're done, usually they will have come to no conclusion whatsoever. But like when Aristotle, or was it Socrates would sit people down. Oh, I love to sit down and read and learn and have fun. That's what seekers do. We're not seekers, actually. I'm sorry. We're teachable. We like to learn. And so when you do spiritual and science all together, it's like, yep, we're learning more things about emotionally being intelligent. So as a teenager, I was this, which is why priceless. As a grown woman, I'm this priceless. And when I was kept away from that which I was meant to be kept away on purpose, it's thank goodness. Because, see, if you can't say something nice, you don't say anything at all. When you know what that means with attachment trauma education, it's really good. Because, yeah, I would be completely very ashamed of Maria in a very, very not, oh, you did wrong. No, I would feel ashamed because I would feel sad, because I would feel guilty, because I would be mad and upset that I said something of such big words with such clarity. Do you know why an empowered feminine would have such clarity in their message? With the lack of education of attachment trauma, because you don't actually know without it what it means for a 0-1-year-old to be scared bloody murder in their own home or in the womb. And once you find that out, that's why you'd be ashamed, because knowledge is empowering. It doesn't make you more stupid. No, it makes you smarter. And then it makes you a better human being. And then it allows you to say, yes, we leave a legacy behind, inspiring human potential, not self-righteous, contemptuous batons of people throwing shit at each other. And while some people don't like to hear the explanation of what a 0-1-year-old went through, try watching as you get to see the adult attachment interview, and then try watching it again, and then try watching how I was a 3. So I'm not going to give a pass, but I'm not going to say there's a monster inside of anyone. In fact, shame on the grown-ups who still use demonic words and possession and all that great, not great stuff. No, anyone who's perpetuating bullshit versus telling it to you in the way of, there's not a lack of imagination for evil. There's lack of education, and then there's a bunch of morons who like stereotypes, generalizations, what they like and don't like. They think they're smart, and they're not. If they were anywhere near smart, they would have learned what a human is made of, and then they would have kept learning, because by the time you learn what a 0-1-year-old goes through, you ain't going to leave that room thinking, I'm going to go tell some person off. Unless... excuse me, you're a modulated person who's only in there for a shortcut because you got some sales pitch you want to offer because you think you're going to give someone a shortcut, which means you don't care about a person's well-being. You care about selling a product, so you don't care about a person's well-being. So you're selling a product to a human being who exists in flesh, which means you're dehumanizing them, which means you're objectifying them, which means you're on the shame continuum, which means that I don't have a grown human being who cares about what they do, like the lawyers who did cocaine. I'm not gullible. The ones who are gullible are the ones who would take seriously a lawyer who does cocaine. You got holes in your head, holes in your nose. You obviously don't know what law is. And really, if you're that great, I'm not thinking it's going to be because of the cocaine you do. I'm going to be noticing if you know what you're talking about in a very specific way. An intelligent, emotional mind knows exactly what to look for. A professional, I'll know when it's one who's selling you a sales pitch, which is why I find it disgusting. The marketers that use it, the pain points they drag around because they're treating consumers like dumb idiots. I'd rather tell you, you're not dumb. If you are dumb, well, I mean, I'm desperate sometimes too, but I'm not. Well, you know, I lack awareness of a lot of things, so sometimes I'll be able to make a mistake, yes. but I'm not a stupid consumer in all things. I've learned how to discern very easily with a good osteopath, discern very easily now with a good dentist because of learning after years and years. So look, for example, dentists, let me bring that one into the mix. I have been cleaning my teeth since I was a kid because luckily for me, I got taught right. And I was able to also access it because it's different in Europe, America, all that stuff. So luckily for me, I got used to good dental hygiene. And just recently, it's been a year and a half, if not two, I got a really good in-depth teeth cleaning. I was like, oh my God, this is so different than all the other teeth cleanings that I've had. Besides the one, you remember the story of the other guy? Oh, that was hilarious. Yes, I still get messages, by the way. So here's what it looks like when a person isn't able to accept that they're not capable of doing teeth cleanings as a professional, which tells me you're a bad professional because you didn't recognize that you failed miserably at teeth cleaning. I shared with you why. In the absence of shaming you, what do you do now? Now you harass me with give me a good review. Or anyways, I got 3 different messages from this dude. He's sharing a picture of teeth cleaning. Then he uses this thing of share a good review since you've had a good time with me. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not engaging with this. Because I didn't say anything mean. I just said I'm not coming back for teeth cleaning because this is not. And the person was shaking while they were giving me a teeth cleaning. And every moment of that teeth cleaning, thank goodness it lasted 10 seconds. The tool he was using was old. The chair he was using, and I was just thinking, okay, my mother's going to give it to me because she told me. And I'm like, don't say it, Mom. I told you. I was like, that doesn't mean anything. I can give an opportunity to someone. And so with that being said, that's why I'm a smart consumer, because my mother actually does a lot of good research, and then she helps to inform me. So the teeth cleaners, they're amazing. And they keep saying it's our good tools. And I'm like, stop saying you're lucky. The person who created your entire center cares. This person does research on how to help us avoid losing teeth. He cares about what he does. He's not a germaphobe either. He's a scientist who's accurately doing research. He got interviewed and a bunch more. So when you know professionals that know what they're doing, they're not like, scientists, we know they don't agree on everything. That doesn't make science bullshit. What we like are the scientists to say, okay, here's what all the scientists are saying, which is what this dentist, here's how I'm going to bring it to you. Here's the good studies. Here's the studies that are not amounting to much. So don't worry, Maria. You don't have to be a germaphobe about the mouth stuff, okay? But it's great that you're getting to teeth clean, and that's how it works when you have a good professional. They don't make it an all or nothing. The ones who fall for the sales pitches, I don't know what to say to you. I watch videos that I'm like, this is a shitty title, but I'm like, but I've seen videos of interviews with shitty titles that have been actually really good information, so I'm still going to watch it because of that. And so here's what emotional mental intelligence does to any one of us. It's like, we want to learn more. Join us. We get to learn more about everything. And for you, personality patterns, again, personal growth, spiritual growth. You get to continue doing you. So you be you and I be me. We're in good company, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. We all look to any 0, 1-year-old and 3-year-old with the same eyes of that which is, we can love, accept, respect anyone, because that's how it works. You're not here to shame people. The ones who do want to do that, it's unfortunate because they are doing unto others that which was done unto them. And their trauma charges are something that they can heal versus project it around with their little scarlet letters that they're continuing to throw. And then when they meet people like me, I pick the weak side. You don't mean anything. You don't pick sides. Yeah, I don't pick sides because they're all weak. Don't you realize the bear can eat every single one of us, which is why we still need each other, because no matter how much technology or science, one day, poof, there it is. Oh, look, bear's going to eat us. Do I think that evil is in nature? No, actually, no, not at all. Doesn't anybody know how biology works? We're part of nature, which is why I'm not afraid of humans. The ones who are not going to become that which is what they could be, well, distress is really not good for the body. Use stress, on the other hand, well, it does wonders, but you need to get to the good resilience stuff first. So again, dark sides of neuroplasticity, not where you want to be, but hey, go tell 3D, 4D about how amazing equanimity and love is, and discernment. They're going to keep telling you about how no, and you're going to say, okay, peace out, cheerio. So when somebody needs to have this, that's a whole different story. You can't tell people, I've tried, about structural dissociation or being hooked on drama or being hooked on bad stress, because they think, I found it hard to believe them first years of life means shit. And you say, you know what? No, you don't say anything. You just say, thank you, God, for keeping me every single bit of away from specifically a human being who I would have told every little bit of everything. Like, this is like no, no holding back whatsoever. That's how it works. So who's being protected by who? Well, in the empowered feminine's case, it's we're being protected by being buffoons. Because when you lack knowledge, that's why you're a buffoon. And when you lack that which is called the compassion, well, that's for another story. I'm happy that I get to bring to you some real talk and some funny stuff. So when you're building relationships, it's based on, like my facade friend, love him to death. And people who are emotionally immature, they didn't choose any of it. So you don't make a person pay the price of something that really is unfair. Because while some people are afraid of assholes, I'm not afraid of an asshole. I'm considered an asshole, but I'm considered a pretender. I'm considered a lot of things. So, you know, at the end of the day, if you can dish it out, you can also take it. And if you can take it, you can dish it. But sometimes you're not dishing or taking. You're just allowing yourself to know. We have emotionally intelligent people, and then we don't. And when you do have them, it's a good time, and it's never personal. Because even when it is personal, if you're grown up, it's not personal. That's how it works when you're grown up. Leaving a legacy of grown-ups behind. For the teenagers who might want to choose to become emotionally intelligent, I've met a bunch of them, and they're not interested. But for me, yes, every 24 hours counts. So we choose to conveniently do what we've always done. I get to choose to be me, you get to choose to be you, and then we get to share with people who want to love, live, laugh, learn, expand, and not cast stones. And we'll be back with more. Have a good one.